In wilds beyond, they speak your name with reverence and regret. For none could tame our savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch you taught, we changed, base instincts were redeemed. A world you gave to bug and beast, as they had never dreamed. This is the first thing you see when you start a new save in Hollow Knight. It is how every new game starts, and lately I have not been able to get it out of my head. Quick preamble. I am going to be speaking under the assumption that you're already familiar with the lore and overarching story of Hollow Knight. I'll be summarizing small parts of it, but not the whole thing. If you don't know the story, I'd recommend checking it out as presented by my boy, Mossbag. I'll put a link in the description below. The story of Hollow Knight has already been covered 100 times over. Analyses of the lore have been picked apart by mossier minds than mine. What I want to do is put a magnifying glass on this opening poem. I think these 4 lines serve to encapsulate the overarching story of the game, as well as provide world building and lore insights specifically to Monomon and the stakes that were at play at the time of Hallownest's downfall. In his book On Writing, Stephen King talks quite a bit about the function of the first sentence of a novel. It is indisputably the most important sentence in the book, and it needs to serve multiple purposes. A novel's first line should capture the themes, motifs, or at minimum the events of the story. It needs to be a hook to encourage people to read further. It absolutely must set the tone for the narrative that follows. The example he uses in his book is the first line of his own novel, The Gunslinger. It reads, "The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed." This is a genuine, perfect opening sentence. It sets the stage for and abridges the entire novel. The Gunslinger and the Dark Tower series at large is an ongoing story about pursuit. It follows Roland's journey as he first chases the man in black and later the Dark Tower itself. I could go on for an hour about this sentence, but I'm already getting lost in the weeds. The immediate question that should come to your mind from here is, what the fuck are you talking about? This is a stanza, not a sentence, and Hollow Knight is a video game, not a novel. Well, I still think these same elements apply. Each verse of this stanza ends with a comma, aside from the 4th that ends with a period, making the full stanza the opening sentence. And while Hollow Knight is a game, it is still an expansive world with a deep, penetrating story to be told. In the realm of storytelling, movies, games, and books, while utilizing different tools, play by a lot of the same rules. Hollow Knight is no exception, and when it comes to the art of the opening line, this is a masterclass. Upon first reading this poem, you have no context for what is being said. You don't know who this Monomon character is, you don't know what a Hollow Knight is, or a Hallownest. If you're me, you don't even know what an Elegy is. But now at least you know that this is a game about bugs, filled with challenges and dreams. Boom. Just like that, setting, expectations, and themes. This is effective as fuck. Objectively, this is just good writing. It gets the point across with minimal telling, then gets right to showing. They hit the fucking checklist of effective storytelling. With brevity, they establish a framework, tight exposition, and themes without lingering on it or crushing you under an info dump. They are doing the opposite of what I'm doing right now. Now this next part is more subjective, but I think it's a popular opinion. Holy shit, what a hook. The first time I read this, I was so hype. I didn't know a single thing about Hallownest, but I wanted to go there, to this place that was somehow held in both renown and disrepute, some bastion situated around wilds beyond, filled with savage souls, I wanted to meet challenges and be in this world of bugs and beasts and dreams. Fucking forget it. Okay, I'm gonna stop gushing and say something coherent, I promise. So, for me at least, this was a great hook. But this stanza doesn't just inspire wonder and anticipation. With zero context, there is a touch of melancholy in this, reverence and regret. There are savage souls to be tamed with base instincts to be redeemed. Reading this before playing the game, I got really ahead of myself. But I figured mentioning these things implied they would be threatened. I had no idea. They were already gone. This might be a stretch, but the imagery of a palest watch made me think of some kind of vigil. Remember, at this point, I still don't know what an elegy is. Look, maybe not everyone lingered on this poem the first time they played through, but I did. And I just nerd out on this shit. Then, I played the game. I got through the whole thing. I struck down the Hollow Knight. I took his place in the Black Egg, sealed away the old light, sitting back, taking in this bittersweet, mostly bitter ending. I took a deep breath. What the fuck just happened? What the hell is this story? I went back through my inventory, reading item descriptions, deciphering half-remembered dialogues from the beginning of my journey, backtracked over different rooms in the game from Green Path to Kingdom's Edge. After hours of making connections, I gave up and I watched that Mossbag video. Anyway, after I graduated from the Soul Academy with a doctorate in entomology and a focus in snail technology, I started my second run. I was driven to re-experience Hallownest with my newfound knowledge, full of infanticide, soul exploitation, and brilliant, shining Freddy Krueger bullshit. Also, what better way to go about this than my newly unlocked Steel Soul mode, a dire difficulty curve to match my new bleak perspective. Let's go. Just seconds after I create my new save file, I see it. This single stanza from an unfinished poem. Boy, if this wasn't an effective hook for anyone, it just hits the second time around. It just hits. Once you've been to Hallownest, once you know the deal, and you read this, it just hits different, my dude. I don't know. It just hits. In wilds beyond, they say your name, O Hallownest, and they say it with reverence and regret. There are wild lands beyond this place, and all that venture over the threshold of this kingdom relinquish their conscious minds. A dubious claim, for sure, but on some level it is true. Thought, for some, were elevated here. And while there are clearly civilizations other than and before Hallownest, this was a place that did call to people and still does. Even now, long after the fall of this once great society, people still come to Hallownest. For one reason or another, they come. Some are filled with reverence, others are crushed by regret. Even if there are kingdoms other than this, before this, the taming of savage souls was far from the only challenge met by this grand Hallownest. For many, this was home, where savage souls gained a higher cognitive order of sapience, then had it stripped away. All of this under the palest watch. They were taught, and they did change. Base instincts were redeemed, but never completely removed. This world, for whatever became of it, had been given unto bug and beast alike, and it was something beyond their dreams. But dream they did. Rereading this on my second run was soul-crushing. I thought about Monomon and her role in all of this as a dreamer. This is the part where I'm just going to assume you know the story of Hollow Knight, so spoilers and whatever. The motivation of the dreamers are interesting. Sure, like each one is different, but I would argue in a way, Monomon's is the differentist. I'm aware that Hera and Lorien are literal polar opposites of each other, but they at least serve as direct parallels. Where Lorien is a die-hard Pale King simp, Hera did not fuck with him like that. Until she did. A bargain had to be struck to buy her cooperation. Monomon did not sit in antagony to the Pale King, nor was she a devoted follower of him, willing to obey without question. It seems clear to me that Monomon questions a lot of things. Sure, we all know the claims about Hallownest being the last and only civilization are bullshit. But how many people who lived there knew that? Were they allowed to even question it? Would it have been akin to heresy? The Pale King wasn't the type to handle competition well. Assuming you couldn't just go about speaking on that freely, it would explain some of Monomon's contradictive language. At a glance, "For none could tame our savage soul, yet you the challenge met," seems to align itself with the wild claims being made on all the billboards leading to Dirtmouth. But then the first line again. "In wilds beyond, they say your name." If everyone outside the borders of Hallownest is a savage soul with unredeemed base instincts, presumably more beast than bug, then who is it that can speak the name, much less with complex emotions like reverence and regret? There is an interpretation of this acknowledging that this isn't exactly what she is saying. Monomon doesn't specify that other bugs, other savage souls can't be tamed or redeemed in other ways in other places. Perhaps it was only these specific beasts that could become bugs in this fashion in this place. But that takes a mountain of other assumptions, like is consciousness different between different types of bugs, requiring the intervention of different kinds of higher beings to actualize their sapience? This is getting too pedantic even for me, and I made a whole video off of 4 lines from a poem that one of 3 Aussies threw together, so for the sake of this pedantic content, I'm going to just stick to the other mountain of assumptions that happens to support what I'm already saying. Okay, so back to the actual fake analysis. If it's treason, blasphemy, treasphemy, to publicly question the exclusive divination that is the Kingdom of Hallownest, is Monomon disguising her dissent behind flowery language? I think so. And I don't even think it's that much of a stretch. In fact, I think it goes deeper. But before that, here's a quick word from our tangentially related sidebar. It wasn't until I was seriously thinking about this script that I made this mind-blowing connection. I am obsessed with this phonetic connection between the words hallow and hollow. It reoccurs throughout the entire game. Even if you breeze past all the lore, it's just in your face. Everywhere you look, there's the word or theme of hallowness and the hollowness to contrast it. The Pale King is not only believed to be, but functionally operates as a god. He isn't the only one, but of the ones we know about, he is the most active. Hallownest, his kingdom and undertaking, is literally hallowed ground, the place where a god laid his feet and bore the fruit of his labor. Now, long after its grisly end, it is hollow. The hollow night, void wrapped in a divine shell, created to ensnare the radiance. In containing a deity, a hollow night thus loses the quality of its namesake, becoming hallowed instead. It's the fabled paralleled theme and rhyme scheme combo. Jesus, no way this isn't a thing. I just might be the last person in the world getting it, but anyway, back to our program. There's actually more to say about these lines. Sometimes, when a poet is talking about one thing, they are actually talking about another, or even both at the same time. I think there is a name for this. If there is prohibition on skepticism over the providence of Hallownest, you definitely can't speak out against the providence behind it. What I'm saying is this stanza is not just flowery language covering an implied criticism of the society itself, but that it is itself a cover for at best a mixed review of our beloved monarch. Before we go down this rabbit hole, another important detail to ponder. when in the context of the lifespan of Hallownest was this written? It'd be helpful to have a canon completion of the piece, but I'm not bringing cut content into this, or else this video would be an hour long. Regardless, just from this, it is clear to me that this was written sometime after the initial Radiance infection, but before the Hollow Knight was sealed away. Which is to say, I don't think Monomon wrote this in her sleep. My reasoning is namely that the piece is titled The Elegy of Hallownest. That's right, I googled it. Let's read this a third time, with the idea that she is exclusively speaking of the Pale King. In wilds beyond and further still, in lands and kingdoms other than these, they say your name with reverence, for they know what you accomplished, with regret, because they know what you did in order to cling to it. Your name comes with wonder and despair, and it is not the only one. Monomon then dwells on the collective rise from their base, savage nature, because she has been confronted with the end of it. You taught, we changed. Monomon was a teacher. She valued the very act of learning. Having learned herself and bestowing the gift of learning upon her students, upon examining the contents of her archive and her countless pet jellyfish, it would appear that Monomon has created her own form of life, more so than any other dreamer or resident of Hallownest can. Monomon relates with the Pale King and appreciates what he has done here, even if she understands that he is complicated to say the least. She did not become a dreamer through leverage or loyalty. Monomon agreed because she understood what was at stake. I know we are well into stretching it territory with the whole double layer hidden political editorial, but these kinds of shenanigans are well within Monomon's character. After all, she is the only dreamer with absolute hijinks for security. Lurien has his Watcher Knights, Hera with her spider maze, but Monomon is actually smart. Even if you were to overcome her broodmare jellyfish, she passed her mask to her most trusted apprentice and sent them away from the kingdom. She did all of this with the additional reverse failsafe that should she ever change her mind, she can undo her role in it. Maintaining some kind of psychic connection with Coral, she reserves the ability to call him back with the mask to facilitate her own demise. This speculation about the obscured double or triple meaning of Monomon's poetry is well within her wheelhouse. At last, I return once more to that final line. A bug that had only known what it was to be a beast. The Pale King opening their eyes. Whatever his motive, be it altruism or atrocity, he laid upon them a unique quality of self-awareness. And the ability to conceive of oneself is the ability to conceive of the world. He gave them the world. Had only they never dreamed.
Yo, I'm fucking sick.